Welcome to episode 7 of Office Tales and People podcast. Today we are diving into a question that still makes people pause. What truly makes a woman a great leader? Is it her title, presence, empathy, or impact? Yes, all of that. But there are two defining traits that shapes a woman into a true leader. The first one is her decision to become a leader. The second one is her unwavering commitment to remain in the position of a leader despite the challenges. Women lead differently. They challenge norms, build inclusive cultures, and drive meaningful change, not in spite of their identity, but because of it. And yet, their voices are too often interrupted, their potential overlooked, their leadership judged more than celebrated. When Priyanka and I created Office Tales and People podcast, we didn't want it to be just another podcast. We wanted it to be a space to collect, share, and savor the lived experiences of leaders, especially women, who are rewriting the rules without waiting for permission. In this episode, we are bringing you the golden nuggets from 3 incredible women leaders that we have hosted. Sreeja Nair, CHRO at Modenik Lifestyle. Ambika, Wadhwa, CHRO at Gourmet Investments, a Bharti group company. Priya, Pillai, Head HR at Titan. If you have missed their full episodes, this bite-sized edition is your chance to catch up on the lessons we loved the most, the kind that stays with you. This episode is your reminder that leadership isn't gendered, it's human. Let's dive in.
How do you think leaders can create an environment of vulnerability where it is encouraged and also accepted as one of the things of leadership?
So it's a difficult subject, right? And it's difficult for the reason that both from our society and our schooling, there is no space where this is
allowed to be shown.
For example, I mean, some cliched statements that do the rounds are boys don't cry. You know, if you're facing a difficult situation, it will pass, so keep your chin up, and
And leaders can't be,
Seen in
a problem.
like heads of
facing
families are not
and has-
expected to share.
Yeah.
right?
Always just find out the solution.
Yeah.
I mean, how can a leader have solutions all the time? They will also be stuck sometimes, right?
So how do you create that environment where it's encouraged and
Yeah.
accepted?
So it's a very, it's a difficult question, and it's also a difficult topic, and it's because of finally organizations are microcosm of society. We are no different from the way society is, and in society, where do we encourage vulnerability to be brought out? Right?
Hardly.
We actually speak about things like boys don't cry, or if you have a problem, put your chin up and smile, and
Find a solution to
also
it.
heads of families or leaders,
Yeah.
right, are not
Yeah.
expected to demonstrate vulnerability. They're just supposed to demonstrate strength.
Yeah.
In
Yes.
fact, it's the reverse,
Yes.
right? There is a lot of emphasis and pressure on saying that you're always supposed to say that you know it all and that you've got solutions for everything.
And everything is okay.
Absolutely. You must spend enough time reflecting and addressing your own internal fears. It's so important to recognize it.
Right.
Because when you recognize it and when you address it, you're able to then stand out there and speak
And
to
move
others
ahead.
with the strength and confidence.
Yeah, and move ahead
And move ahead.
and carry them with you.
Absolutely, right? So I think, it was not that he wasn't, he was, but the reality is that he also knew that, like many others,
He's not the only
he's
one.
not the only one.
Yeah.
The whole world is going through this. So what makes it unique?
Yeah.
So it's good to, in my parlance, I always use this parlance, saying that put the fish on the table. Putting the fish on the table actually means that address it.
Yes.
Don't put it under the carpet. Address the issue, right? Put it out there. And I've seen that, wherever you do that, and if that's part of your culture, both vulnerability and strength will come out.
That's
Yeah.
so amazing.
And I think we have spoken about our successes, and we've spoken about even places where we have not succeeded with the same, I would say, with the same celebration. So I remember in 2008 when the big economic downturn happened, and Titan company, Tanishq was present in US and they had to come back, that learning was celebrated. It wasn't about, oh my God, you know.
We made a
So,
mistake.
yeah.
So basically, mistakes are welcomed and they are looked as lesson. At least
Yeah.
that's what I'm hearing from
And
Tatas.
vulnerability is also welcomed. Vulnerability is also strength.
Yeah.
And you know, there are times when I remember some conversations that we had in the leadership, and I had and I cried, and this was on some topic on something, and later on and I went and I was telling. Couple of the other leaders, you know,
Feeling
oh God, I was feeling,
embarrassed,
oh God, I cried. This was the early days. And I remember, you know, my manager telling me that, but hey, listen, I do that all the time.
Yeah. What's the
You know,
big
I
deal?
cried, yeah, what's the big deal? And I have often seen many great leaders who have that little choke or who will have that little
Yeah.
pause because it's
Yeah.
the emotions which are coming in. All of those are signs of vulnerability. And I think it's a great culture that Titan has, and it
Yeah.
has happened right from the top.
If you had to just talk a little more about what really is the culture in Titan. Well, I've been with the Tatas myself.
Yes.
And so I know, but I'm sure the audience would love to hear from you.
This is a very interesting thing because culture is what is not seen, right?
Yes.
And I remember Bhaskar once said that he defined culture as when nobody is seeing you, what do you do? That really is a culture,
Yeah.
right?
When you're not being watched.
When you're not being
Nobody
watched.
is watching you.
Nobody's watching you.
Yeah.
And how are you behaving?
Are you
How are you
still
behaving?
doing the right thing? Is
And he said that when nobody is watching you, how you behave is really the culture of the
Exactly.
organization, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I think if you ask me, my coming back to Titan is and I'm grateful that the opportunity also came in and Titan chose me for that role. But the core to that is the culture, right?
Yeah.
It's the fact that one, you know, psychological safety is extremely important.
Yes.
Right? It's very important for any human being. And I believe that this is an organization that gives you psychological safety. Second is, you know, in many corporates, you keep hearing about this thing of rat race and corporate race and watch out your back. And I'm telling you, this is one company where none of this exists. And I love this place because
Because of
you
that.
can just be yourself.
Okay, so Priya, I really want to ask you something about Titan and diversity, equity, inclusion. I've heard a lot about your initiatives and very deep intent of the organization in terms of driving the DEI agenda. Just share, first of all, your personal, uh, observation about DEI overall in the corporate world and then at Titan.
So one, my perspective at an overall corporate world is that slowly but steadily, I think the needle is shifting. And when I say needle is shifting, I'm also comparing it to some of the Western countries. If I look at in India, I think the rigor with which women on boards has actually been driven is, in my understanding, and I recently saw some data as well. I think India is one of the top countries that has really driven this agenda of having more women on boards. We are still not, perhaps in percentages, it will still be much, much smaller. But I do believe that it's in the right direction. It's in the right direction because I often say that so far the DI journey has always been about filling up the base of the pyramid. And I felt that that was more like a number game. But the intent really shifts when it starts coming into the leadership
In
levels.
the top, yeah.
Yeah.
And with women on boards and women in leadership levels, I think that journey perhaps for India is, has at least begun.
It has,
right?
of course.
We have to stay the course. We have to have many more companies that adopt this. And I also believe that a lot more women also have to step up
Yes.
and build their capability to get their seat on the table. So I think there have to be multiple actions at multiple paths that.
So would
need
you
to come
agree that
together.
women need to have a very focused competency upskilling
Absolutely.
process for themselves so that
Absolutely.
they can take up serious roles in the organization, take up leadership roles? Do you agree to that?
I think women have to first raise their hands.
Right.
Right. And I think they need to also have build their confidence and do whatever it takes to build your confidence.
Right.
Seek the support, go for mentoring, coaching,
mentors.
whatever it takes,
Yeah,
right?
coaches.
But build that confidence. And I would also say build your competence, build your skill, because it's not the gender that should get you, it should be the competence that
Should be the
gets you.
competency, yes.
Your capability.
Your
whether-
capability and your competence is really what has to come.
Yeah. What is that one thing that you want to give as a message to our audience that they can take away from Tata's and Titan?
The unconditional positive regard for people is one. And if I may add one more, I
Please.
think the freedom to explore would be the other.
What's your favorite book?
Inside Out Leadership by Rajiv Vij.
Okay.
Awesome, okay. Any favorite quote?
I don't know about a quote, but I can tell you that there's a book called The Advice Trap
Okay.
by Michael Stainer. And I think what I really love about that book is about how just refraining from giving advice can be so empowering to the other person. Not that I have practiced it completely, but that's something that I always keep in mind.
As HR, we always jump to giving direction. So I want to also know that what does happiness at workplace mean at Titan?
I'm going to quote something that one of my colleagues actually said, that the speed with which you come to office being greater than the speed with which you want to leave the office, I think is the happiness.
That's so
Excellent.
amazing, huh?
What does happiness mean personally to you?
I think the joy of just coming to this place, for me it's an institution, it's like a university, and I learn continuously. I just love this place. That brings me happiness.
The real support that you got from your leaders, your managers, and usually women do not get this kind of support. If they are looking for right mentors, do you think you have any specific advice for women when they are growing in their careers?
See, honestly, you choose your own mentors, right? It is a frequency. It is वो radio पे होता है ना, that you
Adjust thoda
adjust करते हो, then you click the right one.
Yeah.
It's like that. It is not that it's not one size fits all. It is about with whom you click, your principles, your value systems, your way of looking things. You know, there will be brilliant mentors out there, but if your frequency doesn't click, you may not find that you can open up to a person like that.
Right.
But if you find the right person where the frequency matches, you open up, you start sharing, you start reaching out, and I think that's how you spot mentors. So it's all about with whom that frequency matches, and you know, are those people welcoming to mentor you? At the same time, are you ready to accept them as mentors? So I think that's what I feel. You choose mentors. Over and above that, I also had support. So, you know, the leadership team, the Advent, which is the owner firm, right? They understood that I'm transitioning into this role. They gave me a coach, a really senior leader, who sits on the boards of many companies. She's now my coach, who's been hand-holding me for last 3 months and for another some time to transition into this role. So I think one is giving the opportunity. Second is creating the whole environment where somebody can perform. So the whole idea is, and what I hear from them is also, it's about, one, you give the role, second, how you make the person successful in that role.
What is that advice that you will give to other women who are all the time waiting to get 100% ready before they can put their hand up to ask for a role or a position, you know? What would you say to them that works?
Long back, I think 4-5 years ago, and where I got this whole thing of putting your hand up. So I was part of this project Eve, which my previous organization did, where, you know, the top 35 women were a part of, so who were trained for higher level roles, etc. So there we had met one of very renowned leaders in the industry, who once said that, you know, as women, you must always, even if you think you're 70% ready, put your hand up and say, I want to do this. And rest things fall in place, right? So I think it is important. You're never perfect. You're never ready. And it's not about just work. Even at home, even when you become a mother for the first time, anything that you do for the first time, you're never 100% ready. And this this follows for every aspect of life. You learn along the journey.
Along the way.
Along the way you learn it. So I think that's the whole point. So don't take it as ki it's only at work that I have to put my hands up when I'm 70% ready. You, as a woman, anyways, you put your hands up. Even if it's not literal hands up, when you start a lot of journeys, you get married, you move out of your house, you have a child, you take care of your
And I think
extended
we all
family.
are never ready for any of this.
Correct. But
So you're
it
saying-
happens, right?
Yeah. So you're saying take that chance
Take that
and
chance.
put your hand up and go for it.
Correct. And then, like I said, the whole mentorship thing or reach out. See, people will respond to you when you go and approach them.
Yeah.
Most of the times, even if good people may not know that you need help. So it's important to, once you've taken it up, go and reach out for help. And there is no shame in saying that I don't know. Tell me. And there are enough and more people in the world, Priyanka and Shikha, who are ready to help. The only thing is, are we going and reaching out? And there is no way, feeling small about it. I think one thing that I've learned, and I've learned more strongly in the role that I've now come in, is keep your mind and hearts open, right? It's okay not to know things, and it's okay to learn, and you don't know where it comes from, where that learning comes from.
Have you met people at work who do not have learning zeal?
See, there are multiple kinds of people, right? There are people who, I won't say that they don't have the learning zeal, but it is about ki, they're complacent, ki this is enough. Whatever I'm doing, it's fine. So I think there has to be a balance. A lot of times we hear about, how to say a no.
Yes.
But at the same time, see, your world is all about balances. It cannot always be how to say a no. Yes, a lot of times you have to learn to say a no, but you also have to learn to say a yes to a lot of things, saying that, can I put my hands up and say, let me give it a try, right? How can I say yes also to certain things? Take those chances, and kya hoga zyada se zyada, I would say. Right?
fail.
You fail.
Yeah.
It's not a do or a die situation. You're not...
You can learn from those failures. You can just,
And that's what somebody told me, like somebody very senior told me that it's okay to fail. The first feedback I got in this role, and when something did not go well, and my chairman told me, I felt very bad. Honestly, I was sad, and he said, don't be sad. This was your first time and you did this. It's okay. The reason I'm telling this to you is so that you don't do that again. So when you're told about your mistakes or somewhere, you have not done well, only take it as a learning. Do not take it as a fault in you. Separate you as a person from what has happened.
right.
It's not a personal attack. It's not personal. And I think that has gone a long way in putting that thing that now when I get a feedback, it's not everything is hunky-dory. When things don't go fine, I say, no, this was for my role. What am I supposed to do? It's not that somebody has personal... If somebody had a personal issue with me, I wouldn't have been where I am.
Right.
Right?
Absolutely.
So I think that's how... And that makes your mind open to learn and accept new things.
Have you experienced any time that two priorities come up at the same time? What do you do then? That there's something very important at home as well as there's a board meeting at work and your child needs a vaccination. I don't know, both are equally important. How would you deal with that?
Planning, setting up a routine.
The support system also
The support system,
may
how
have
it
come
is-
handy in all
it becomes
of this.
it becomes important.
Right.
How you plan that part of it so that even if you're delegating, your rest assured that gets taken care of.
Right.
And at work front also, even if you're delegating, keep those checks going so that things happen even if you're not there.
So Sreeja, it is possible to manage two priorities at the same time if planning is robust. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Planning has to be a part of everything. It cannot be ad hoc. Planning has to be a part. There are times when things are ad hoc. Sometimes, your child falls ill. What do you do? Or there is a situation in office which is like a firefighting situation which you can never predict, right? But that's okay. So, see, those things are what I feel are sporadic. They come in between. Another thing is, see, when you have created credibility in an organization, when you're true to your work, true with your intentions, I think people around you also collaborate to help you.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? So when work is priority and you're sitting till late at times to complete that. When my kid was sick and I had to ask for a week of work from home, I went ahead and I did that and nobody had a problem with it, right? They said, fair, manage that first because now that's more important.
Right.
Right? So I think it does get managed. It is from my perspective. There are times where people may not have this kind of a environment where people may have to make tough choices, which also I respect. Right? Because context changes for people.
Right.
But yeah, most of the times I think if you plan well, if you have developed a certain credibility, things generally work out.
Have you experienced business coming and telling you, or men coming and telling you that now I'm feeling excluded? You
I
are
hear
having
this a
so
lot.
many
A
so many
lot.
things you're doing for women. What about us? We are now actually feeling excluded.
Generally happens on a men's day when they will say, "तुम Women's Day तो celebrate करते हो, तो Men's Day क्यों नहीं करते?" So in fact,
Exactly.
last year we did celebrate the Men's Day as well.
Oh, great.
Right? So we had some intervention
Was it
around
out of that
also, like,
push?
no, honestly.
So, Sreeja, are you ready for the rapid fire?
Is there a hamper?
No. No,
Okay,
not yet. Not yet. So, Priyanka, are you ready?
Absolutely. Looking
Okay.
forward.
Okay.
Yes.
So, first one is, what's your favorite book?
I think the one that has had maximum impact on me was A Thousand Splendid Suns by Khalid Hosseini.
Awesome. Awesome. Nice. Okay. What's your favorite hobby?
I love to travel.
Woman leader who you look up to?
I think I already mentioned, right? I think Indira Nooyi and somebody like even Arundhati Bhattacharya.
Awesome. The next question is, what's your leadership style? Aggressive, assertive, or mild?
I think it's assertive. I think I like to be firm, but then I also like to be fair.
So, if you had all the money in the world, Sreeja, would you still choose this profession? And why?
Yes, I would still. It's not about money. See, money can keep you engaged for a certain time, right? Coming every day to work, money can't get you that. So I love what I'm doing.
Top 2 learnings of your journey that you would like to share with our listeners?
I think the first one is to avoid any kind of shortcuts. I think that's a learning that I've had, that not following the most ethical or the most compliant manner while we are in the pursuit of growth sometimes seems easier, and sometimes is a very natural reflex to a lot of our decision making when we are growing as organizations. But I think just stopping, taking stock of what our actions could have as repercussions in future, because you're not building something for a few years, you're actually investing to build an organization. So I think that is a learning that I've taken over these years, to not really take shortcuts. I don't know. I think the second one is just bringing your true self to work. Yeah, I think it's about authenticity, who you are as an individual, and are you really part of that growth journey? Is it together that you and the organization are able to build what I think it's about a common value system that you end up identifying for yourself, so that your work is not work. It's your everyday living. So it's an extension of who you are. And I think if that is something as employees, as people, we are able to generate, I think we're happier as individuals.
Do you think that HRs have got all the power to protect the company employees and to make workplaces safe? What's your take on it? I'll start with Ambika now that she's our guest.
Yes,
Okay.
please.
I don't know if HR is solely powerful, right? And I say this because there's HR, there's the CXO team, and then there's the leadership team, and then there are managers who are responsible for each of their team members, right? So I think HR solely cannot be powerful enough to be responsible to control behaviors of individuals. And what HR can probably do is influence the workplace policies, build a culture where there is a discussion around acceptable behaviors, unacceptable behaviors, what is really the principle that defines the organization, right? And where is it that you draw a line to acceptable behaviors? I think that definition is probably the ownership and the place where HR has the power to influence versus the behaviors, because I'm sure three of us have seen enough and more behaviors out of our control, despite being in very, very authoritative and positions of influence.
HR is expected to protect the people, have these policies, but many a times they could be victims as well. Have you ever experienced anything like that, and how have you dealt with it, or is there anything that you would want to share in terms of learning?
No, thank you for asking this, Priyanka. I mean, it's a, when there are direct questions, and because we are HR folks, there's little that you want to manipulate around, right? So I'll actually answer this in ways that I can. As HR people, we really go through sometimes incidents that could have happened within our teams, outside of our teams, etc. So it's always easier because you are in a position of influence and authority, and you are able to navigate those challenges. But at times when you are exposed to such behavior yourself, the first thing you do is to lean on colleagues around you, right? It could be your peer group, it could be your seniors, and the least that you expect of them is to really have a spine. So I think missing of that spine is a lot more prevalent, and that comes as a shocker only when you are exposed to it yourself, because a lot of times you are the spine and you are confident about your own self as a spine, right, to multiple people that deal with such harassment or bad behavior or any kind of sexual harassment, right? It doesn't you don't shy away from doing the right thing at that point in time, whether it is internal committees, external support, so on and so forth. But when it comes to yourself, you are leaning on a lot of leadership support.
What's your message for women specifically who are in the leadership roles like yourself?
What naturally happens when a situation like this comes up, we tend to go into our own shells, right? We forget that we have that we are actually responsible for the remaining folks. Suddenly we start questioning our own selves. Is it really, did we really stand up for everybody always? Did we not? And things like those. And then you're also wanting to check whether you have the courage in yourself to stand up for yourself. So I think at that point in time, what is most important is probably not going into your own shell, identifying your own strength. And thirdly is also identifying your ecosystem, because I remember it was probably easier on myself and for me because I had a few partners, right? I mean, Shikha is one of them. And when you lean on people who are able to clinically assess the situation and tell you to not really feel victimized because of a certain situation, but to look at it in a clinical way, the way you would look at an alternate situation, right? And not really be boggled by the sheer fact that you are having to live this or go through this alone. So there were people like Shikha, there have been people like my other colleagues at workplace and mentors outside of workplace who helped navigate that situation.
Would you like to share some of your approach?
I think not so much in the policy formulation, because I think typically we know what goes into a policy formulation from a place where individuals were defining policies, to a place where HR team was defining policies, to a place where focus group discussions started taking place to understand who are the recipients, how are they feeling, and what is it that you want as redressal mechanisms. I think that evolution has functionally happened. Right. I think what I have done probably differently across organizations has been establishing my own teams across different touch points with employees. Right. What that means is that there have been HR folks who work on the shop floors. There are HR folks and trainers who work on factory floors. There are people who work on the field. And then there's an extension of the operations teams who are on the ground really. So while there is this entire HR team and the trainers who are directly, working closely with you, become your eyes and ears to tell you if there are those micro triggers or micro aggressive behaviors that really come within our working styles. How do you catch them early on, and how do they come back to you in an absolute narrative without really putting somebody in a spot, but helping you identify how your teams are feeling? I think that has evolved over the organizations that I have worked. So there are multiple touch points now from where you keep getting these feelers and triggers. And what it helps is it doesn't prevent people from reaching out to you directly or indirectly because they know that you're not going to really take an action instantly, but you're going to ensure that any of those microaggressive behaviors are caught early on. And how do you add their redressals in the policies that you formulate, or in your next visits, how are you addressing them?
Is there any trait of yours that is still work in progress?
Oh, many.
Okay, give us one.
I think I get very emotional when I'm addressing harassment cases, etc. Of course, while I clinically address them, etc., there are days that I keep thinking about it, and that's also because you tend to start relating and thinking from the victim's point of view.
So, what's your favorite book?
Osho. So I love what he writes, and other than that, I love Haruki Murakami.
Wow.
And
okay.
I love Simon Sinek. So I think there are multiple books that I like to read.
Awesome. And any favorite quote?
Do the right thing. I mean, I don't know whoever wrote that, but whoever wrote that is.
It's a nice thing. Do the right thing.
Do the
Yeah.
right thing.
It's the
That's
right
something
message.
Yeah. So I think two statements that I really think of each time. One is do the right thing, and the other is bring your true self to work. So I think these two just resonate with me a lot of time.
So, is there any one message from your side to all the HR leaders who are going to be CHROs?
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's like giving a message
I
to.
mean, you were a CHRO and at a fairly young age you took that position. Is there any advice, if not message, anything that you'd like to say?
Yeah, I think it's important that we don't lose our authenticity and not be bullied and pushed around by the leadership team members. And if you are a woman by any chance, then don't get threatened by being the first woman on the table, because that is going to pave way for a lot more women colleagues to come.
Yeah, be the first one on the table and speak up at
Yeah.
that table. I think that's
Yeah.
important.
Thank you.
No, I think I've been very, very fortunate having excellent male colleagues in the boardrooms who've, partnered very, very meaningfully and contributed to this growth journey. So I think thanks to all the men who've helped me in this journey.
Keep watching OTP and keep sharing this OTP with your friends and colleagues.
Do subscribe to our YouTube channel and keep listening.